The firefighters.
Can you hear us, Steve?
us?
Oh,
I can hear you now, yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
supposed to sign this yet. No. Trying to get in trouble.
was that your last term? Was that last term? Was this last term?
No, that was when Ken would have been the mayor.
Who's all coming in? Whoa.
Ken would have been the mayor.
Anna, are you
What year
there?
would this have been?
That would have been.
Hello,
Deputy mayor.
Oh, there you are. Hello,
2002?
how are you?
When
how are you?
19,
I'm just gonna try to.
1990 something.
1996
So Anna,
or 7.
You should write- you should write the date on the
minutes, and
back
then
of
we
the
have one
pictures.
public
Yeah, I
meeting,
don't
and
know who
then
brought
I'll
it.
turn
Yeah.
it to you, okay?
Kind of. You're gonna match the hair colors? Oh, I thought you were holding up to that picture.
You're not putting it up there with the bad one, eh?
No.
Better, Steve.
What, they were the best council ever? No. Staff report saying,
Anna, can you
Better
hear
it's
us? I just want to do
following.
sign.
right, in talking
Okay.
to the ministry.
Yep, I
But
can hear you.
Ken,
I take it you guys can hear me too?
for me,
Yes, we can.
it will
Thanks.
always be legal.
good time.
Did you guys, did you guys get a copy?
I have one.
Yeah. Do we have any extras? Skip there?
Yeah, those are.
Agenda?
Yeah.
We just, but not the documents.
Yeah. Closer moving. We have two moved into closer. Okay, what is happening?
In one vote.
There's five B on Zoom. Is that on Zoom as well?
Anna's on
Yes.
Zoom. You ready?
Are we, just the timing, we're running late.
Oh,
We do.
I'm waiting for it to be coming.
On time?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to our meeting tonight. And welcome to Steve on Zoom. Moved by Councillor McGinnis, seconded by Councillor Corbett, that this meeting be open at 7:05. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor McGinnis, that the agenda presented to council and dated the 6th day of August, 2024 be adopted as prepared. All in favor? Carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Hearing none. Adoption of previous minute, moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor McGinnis, that the minutes of the regular council meeting of July 23rd, 2024 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment ZC 3-2024 Tripkovik.
Your worship, can I just say something? Just CA Okunko was saying that something happened, the agenda package didn't go up on Friday online, so she just wanted to kind of relay that to everybody.
Okay, just to mention that it, for some reason, it didn't go up online.
Yeah, I'll look into it tomorrow, but I will get it posted up tomorrow. We'll figure out what happened and get it posted tomorrow so everyone can still have a
Okay,
copy of it.
next we have, the declaration of a public meeting. Take notice that the council of the corporation of the township of Bonnfield is holding a public meeting tonight, August 6, 2024, to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment under section 34 of the Planning Act. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment would change the zone category on concession aid, lot 18, part parcel 13405, 524 Trunk Road from a rural and special zone 56 to commercial resort zone C3 for the purpose of a tourist establishment. If a person or public body that files an appeal of a decision of the Township of Bonnfield in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw does not make an oral submission at this public meeting or has made a written submission to the Township of Bonnfield before the proposed zoning bylaw is adopted, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss all or part of the appeal. Has a person or public body made a written submission to the Township of Bonnfield?
We've received no written comments from the public, and the report does have the public comments from the MTO and the Public Works. and all the agencies have reported, but there's nothing from the public.
Okay. Any person that is attending the public meeting shall be afforded an opportunity to make an oral representation in respect of the zoning bylaw proposal. Is any person attending wish to make an oral presentation for zoning bylaw amendment? File ZC3 2024 Quebec.
Mhm.
There's nobody here to give a presentation.
How would anyone
At
know?
this time, do we ask for the planning decision or report? Yeah.
Sorry, Your Worship, just a question. So because we had some level of a technical issue with our agenda not being put out publicly, are we in a position to have a public meeting tonight?
Yes, I can speak to it in the planning report as well. So with the zoning application, you can have it, there is a required radius around the property that does receive a mail out, individual. So each property owner in the area, the applicant is well versed that this is on the agenda tonight. And anyone in that radius that we are obligated to notify has been notified. So yes, we can still proceed with the public meeting.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you would like to make the report?
Yes, so the planning administrator did prepare a report for council's consideration on the application. So currently the subject property has a residential dwelling and an accessory and public structures located at the 524 Trunk Road. It's zone special zone 34 and designated rural in the official plan. The property abuts an active aggregate pit, residential area, and backs onto a large rural farm. The special zone 34 permits a driving range, patio bar, and chip stand, and that was passed in 2001. So the owner of the day in 2001 applied to have the property special zones for what their purposes were, they were hoping to do, and they never fulfilled their zone, that requirement. But it's still zoned that until it's rezoned. So currently the property is being used as an ecotourism establishment, which provides visitors a unique stay of off-grid accommodations as well as an agricultural experience with various farm animals and gardens. So the applicant's proposal is to continue using the property as their primary residence, as well as outbuildings for overnight accommodations. However, due to the unique ecotourism experience they offer with their off-grid accommodations and farming, the property does not conform with special zone 34, and therefore the application for zoning amendment has been applied for to convert it to a commercial resort or C3, which would permit the tourist establishment. In this C3 zone is actually a zone that is within the zoning bylaw. So we're moving it from a special to conform to the zoning. So it aligns better. There's a number of statements about the policy statement, the rural areas, the ensuring that your rural areas are sustainable. There's a natural heritage. There is at the back of the property, there's one section that would be, if it were to be developed, would be governed by the North Bay Marlborough Conservation Authority, and just that a permit would be required if they wanted to do that. The owners are aware of this as well. They've received a copy of the reports. In our official plan, our visions and principles are diversified economy to develop and promote the tourism potential of the township. So the zoning amendment will promote visitors to the area and promote the potential of the township. For general development policies, the zoning amendment will enhance an already established area and will coexist with existing development without causing any adverse impact on the surrounding properties. I spoke to the natural heritage, and then the environmental impact statements are called for when needed. However, if we refer to the table in 7.9.3, the subject property is not adjacent to any of those areas listed in the table, so there's no environmental concerns. And then, so the application for the zoning amendment is in line with the provincial policy statement and our official plan. The rural use of the property and the off-grid accommodations allow for a visitor to experience the intent of the rural designation within the township. and the official plan. And the property promotes economic development while promoting the township of Bondfield to the visitors and the subject application. The property offering off-grid accommodations promotes the use of alternative energy resources outside the use of greenhouse gases and promotes sustainability with farming activities and accommodations. And the use of the special zone 34 is not needed with the property, and a commercial resort zone would be more suiting to the actual use of the property. So it is our recommendation to adopt the zoning amendment to approve it.
Okay, any questions?
I have one. Are they capped with the amount, like how many sites they can have, or?
There's nothing in our zoning that would cap the,
Okay.
if, under the coverage of the lot, you only can have so much coverage in a commercial lot, so. It would still be capped to that, as well as any of the septics or any gray water with nothing, not a lot, on what you can fit on the property.
So the current use. The current use is still an allowed use in the new zone, right? Like the driving range and the bar and chip stand, beer garden, that's still all allowed in the new zone.
So the new zone, the zone that we're moving it to is one that's already in the zoning bylaw for commercial tourist establishment. I don't believe that includes a golf course or a driving range, but if they wanted to have a patio bar, that's an accessory use to the accommodations, or what they're doing currently still meets and is permitted in that. But the special zone 34 would be removed from the property.
Okay. The report from the planning administrator or CAO regarding consent application B2 2024. Oh, no.
Yeah,
Where's
I
mine?
think we just need to close out the public meeting now, and then the bylaw can be referred to when we do the bylaw under.
Okay,
Section
all right. Thank you. Bylaws are section 9. Next, we have the presentation from Anna Gibson, Ologist, ED, Powassan and Area Family Health Team.
And Anna, are you still with us?
I'm still here. Hi, everyone. How are you doing this evening?
Good, thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Good, no problem. So I have a presentation I can share. However, I'm also open to any questions that you might have about the document. So would you like to start with your questions or with my presentation?
I vote your presentation.
Well,
All right. So as you know, we applied for expanding our services in the area through the interprofessional primary care team expansion process. Currently, we have 8 physicians. We're continuing to recruit. We have 1 nurse practitioner, 2 RPNs, 2 mental health counselors, 6,200 patients, 2 clinics currently serving Powassan, East Ferris, Chisholm, Nipissing, Laurier, and communities west of Powassan. So our area is this blue line, and our expansion are these 2 blue circles. So we developed this with the Ontario Health Team Nipissing Wellness and worked with the physicians in each of the communities, spoke with Nikki, sorry, I'm clicking all over the place. And basically we'd be able to deliver enhanced primary care to cover the communities who don't have access to nurses and things like that. So obviously, you know, your population health needs. There are significant needs in our area. And it's well aligned with what we're looking to do. It's well aligned with what the government's looking to do. I'm just going very fast here. I'll send you a copy of this, but the whole piece about strengthening team-based primary care in Ontario so that people have access to what they call interdisciplinary healthcare providers or allied health. So that's the nurses, the social workers, the physiotherapy, dietitian, nurse practitioners. So it takes a team. That's all that we're looking to expand here. And then this was our organizational chart prior to the expansion. And this blue box here is what we requested. So we requested a nurse, a social worker, a nurse practitioner, 2 physiotherapists, an office manager, a quality improvement decision support specialist, and a receptionist, which would have totaled about $830,000. That's not what we got. We got an additional nurse, registered practical nurse. We got a social worker and reception and contracted physiotherapy services, which is great. And we spoke to each of the physician teams about what they would prioritize. So that's how that worked. And there are 2 agreements that we're talking about. One is before you and one is before you and the physicians. So the first agreement is the one that you would have a copy of. That's the Family Health Team and Community Physician Collaboration Agreement. It's about providing collaborative care to patients of the Bonfield RNPGA. It expands Family Health Team staff programs and services to patients of the Bonfield physicians. It requires participation from the physicians and working with our staff. It's asking you guys to provide facilities, supplies, equipment costs, and potentially fees of using the electronic medical records. We're going to be talking about branding and communication of the relationship between the Bonfield RNPGA and the Family Health Team. So that could involve signage at the clinic, how people answer the phones, those kinds of things. And then it also covers insurance, particularly cyber insurance. And there's a termination clause saying that if we don't like this, then we can get out of it. The other agreement, which will be between the physicians and the Family Health Team, is the Personal Health Information Protection Act agency agreement. Physicians in our arrangement are the health information custodians of the patient records. So this establishes a relationship under the Personal Health Information Protection Act that the Family Health Team staff will become agents of the physicians as the health information custodians. So the Privacy Commissioner likes to see those relationships established. So it deals with all kinds of different pieces: safeguards, accuracy, audit, theft, breach. As you well know, as a council, everything's fine until it's not, and then it's good to have an agreement to fall back on. So this just deals with, if somebody goes rogue and exposes personal health information, then how are we going to go through the process to manage anything like that? And then the schedule of permitted uses and disclosures, which is just the Personal Health Information Protection Act. So that's my very fast presentation. Do you have any questions about the agreement?
Jason?
Just let me pull it up here. On page 4 of the agreement, so medical office supplies. So Bonfield Medical Center physicians will provide usual medical and office supplies for the Boston Area Family Health Team staff. So my understanding is the municipality actually provides that to the medical center.
Correct.
So are the physicians now actually contributing to this, or is that actually the municipality? It's not the physicians providing this, it's the municipality providing it,
It
correct?
should say the medical center. So the medical center is an
Bonfield
entity.
Medical Center physicians will provide usual medical.
It should say the
An
medical
office.
center, because that's
Right.
the.
We can take the physicians at what page was that again? Page what?
4 of 5 is, sorry, in the report that I see, yep, page 4.
Okay, perfect. I will change that.
That's my
That's
question.
it?
So I think the 2 biggest costs will be the cyber insurance and the access to the electronic medical records. So cyber insurance is to cover the medical center and the physicians in case if there's a privacy breach. The Family Health Team has $2 million worth of coverage. It would be great if the physicians had similar coverage. And the electronic medical record access, my staff will need access to the electronic medical records of the Bonfield Medical Center, and that comes at a monthly cost.
Dan, do you have any question? I have a question.
Sure.
So I see that there would possibly be two registered nurses, right?
So we have, so Powassan and Astorville are sort of central in that map, and Bonfield and South River are at either end. So what I've done is I've taken the two nurses that we have at the family health team, and I've assigned one to work South River Powassan and the other one to work Bonfield Astorville. And the one is going to work Powassan Astorville. So one of the nurses will be coming to Bonfield for 2 days a week, and one of the nurses will be going to South River for 2 days a week.
Okay, just so I have it clear.
Yep.
And so the nurse will be working right physically out of our office, right?
Correct. Yes.
And I guess, and there's room with the two doctors in there and then
Yep.
the nurse?
Yeah, we've been
I'm
working with
just
Nikki.
trying to understand.
Yeah, we've been working with Nikki on that. So there is the smaller room at the back where the IT closet is at the very back end, where across from where Dr. Mang works is a smaller room. So our nurses will be working in there. And we also will be providing social work services, but you don't have room currently for a social worker. So patients will have to travel to Astorville to see a social worker in person, or they'll have access to video or phone call appointments.
And I also see that there will be help for mental health patients.
Yeah,
Is
that's the
that
social
something
worker.
you'll
Yeah.
do there too?
Yeah. And then there's also going to be
I think
access to physiotherapy.
Yeah, I think it's very good to bring the additional services to our community. And certainly everything is needed here. So I'm happy with it and happy with the presentation.
Can I just one follow-up, just on the cyber security? Do we currently have cybersecurity rider outside of our current policy, or?
We do. So currently we do have cybersecurity for the municipality. We have inquired with our insurance broker to confirm that it will cover this, the extension of the medical center.
Correct.
Yeah. So I do not know what that cost would be if it's not covered, but we do have a separate cyber insurance.
Well, the fact that we've qualified at least once for that insurance is big. So it means that we've got the infrastructure as a municipality, the IT infrastructure
Yes.
and processes in place. Okay.
Yeah, and our IT guy from our family health team has been working with the medical center. So if you need any information, Nikki, to apply for that, he's got all the specs and things that can show that he's monitoring for malware and all those different pieces. So that'll help with your application as well.
Yes.
Great.
We have rigid security at the medical center.
That's perfect.
Currently, so.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
You happen to take my pen, no?
No, not this time.
Okay, next we have a consent application. And will you read the report from the state? Okay.
Okay. So from the last council meeting, the previous council meeting, there was a question on this consent because there was multiple zoning on the one individual property, and the other one had two. So we did reach out to our planning consultants and did ask them the question on should we rezone them or have an obligation under the consent to rezone, or if we could leave it. So the answer for should a condition of consent to rezone both the lot addition and the retained portion into one zone be done. And our planner said that the rural land should stay zoned rural as they are outside the hamlet. And you will notice by looking at the zoning map, which you do have a copy of, that R1 and R2 zoning is mostly in the hamlet, except for one property, and there's no harm in leaving the subject lands in a split zone. And then should the township adjust the hamlet designation to not have any rural zone properties while we're in the official plan review? So definitely this is a question This question is not whether the hamlet designation should be adjusted to not have rural properties, but whether these properties are appropriately zoned or whether the hamlet lines are drawn appropriately. The consultants will, this is our official plan consultants, can certainly review that. And that we have 3 years from the official plan to then amend our zoning bylaw, but we are doing the comprehensive zoning right after the zoning with the official plan. We have that contract with the same planners. And then should there be an amendment to the official plan or the zoning bylaw to prevent agricultural uses on property that have 2 zones, and our planner does not recommend that agricultural uses should be permitted on rural lands. This is an enforcement issue that is reasonably made difficult to the split zoning. It does speak to that if you have, if you have 2 acres and your back acre is rural and your front acre is residential, the activity can happen in that back acre, but there would have to be a divide into the other. So it does get messy in there, and it is an enforcement that where is that line? So if somebody did want to, they still have to follow minimum distance separation if they wanted to start anything that was rural or farming or agriculture with animals, to make sure that they would still reflect that zone. So, and that would, it'd be very hard with minimum distance separation.
Because you'd still have to follow MDS too, right?
Right, absolutely. So MDS is restrictive, like 500 meters around the property, and you have to have a number of things. So it does become difficult to have agricultural animal and livestock in that close proximity. And then what's the simplest way to address this? So any split zoning or zoning issues could be cleaned up in a housekeeping amendment or wait until the municipality amends the zoning bylaw in 3 years. Again, as I said, we hope to do that right after the official plan. And it really does seem like an enforcement issue. So it'll be up to us to make sure that they're not, up to our bylaw officer to make sure that they don't. So residential first density and residential second density only has one difference for permitted use, which is a semi-detached dwelling. Currently, both properties already have a residential dwelling on them. The planner of record has identified that if rural uses are crossing over into the residential zone, it should either be dealt with through enforcement of the bylaw or could be addressed through the zoning bylaw itself when it is reviewed. And our recommendation is that council approve the consent for 1 lot addition with the conditions listed in the decision of approval from the committee already, and to enforce the current bylaws and address the split zoning through zoning bylaw review.
Yeah, 2 questions if I could, Your Worship. So, that report I find did an okay job at explaining the fact that they can't have farming within the hamlet. Would that not be the natural line of, like, when I look at the map, like going from residential to rural,
Mhm.
like it follows the hamlet line, does it not, on that
Yes.
property?
Yes,
Okay,
there are a number of properties along that same side of the street that have the same the split zoning, where it is half residential or a section of it is residential, and then after that hamlet line it becomes rural. So there are probably 4 or 5 different properties that are affected by that.
and would this become, so if we wanted to address this in our zoning, if the planning advisory committee wanted to look at making recommendations to changing some zoning within 3 years of the official plan, we come to council, that provides an opportunity to change the zoning. When does something become legal non-conforming?
If the use exists before the zone changed.
Would this impact that at all? Because it becomes an enforcement issue.
Yes. Yes, I see what you're saying. So right now, if it's rural and they started to have a cow,
Right.
and so they started that use, and then in 3 years you changed that rural to a residential, then it would be legal non-conforming because it was legal at the time.
Until the change of ownership.
To the zoning bylaw change.
No.
Up till the point where the ownership changes on the property. If they sell their property, it would no longer be, the person buying the property would have to conform with the new zoning, correct?
No,
No.
it stays with the property.
It's
The
not a
legal
non-conforming property.
non-conforming stays with the property. It doesn't matter if you sell your property or not, that stays with it. I don't see it because there are areas in the hamlet. The only thing I see this as the opportunity to change it, and I'm not about to question the planner, what they had to say, but it's in my thoughts, it gives us the only opportunity to change that would be now. Because down the road, if we change our zoning bylaw, that doesn't change that property. If somebody brought in farm animals or whatever, that doesn't change the use of that property because it's legal non-conforming. But it doesn't seem to be an issue right now. And who knows, if you sell the property, maybe somebody else will come in and use it. And there's nothing wrong with having 3 different zones on one property. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that neither. It depends what council wants to do and if they want to change that in any way that to make sure that there's, well, the rural is outside the hamlet, right? That section, but attached to it is two other zones,
Mhm.
like the 2 other zonings. So, and my concern is if that portion of the property becomes an enforcement, then it would only become an enforcement once the cows or chickens or pigs or whatever came out into the residential section. So I don't think it's a big thing, only this is the only opportunity that we would have to change it, to change the zoning, that's all.
Can we not put a condition on there, no animals, like right now?
Not
No.
right now, because it's in the rural zone, so we can't restrict what's in the zone. What you can do as an option is what the planner has said in here is that we could address this through a housekeeping bylaw, zoning bylaw. So you could just amend so if you, for this consent application, and if you enforce that they had to rezone, it's still only that one property that has the mixed zoning, right? So, but you could do a housekeeping bylaw that would look at everybody, all those dual zones in those bordering hamlet properties, and then you could decide what is the best zone for that property within the hamlet, and then you could fix all of that section all in one housekeeping bylaw.
And we can do that without this becoming illegal non-conforming after today if we pass this?
Well, if you pass this today, or if like the current owner, even if they had a horse or a cow, I don't think they have enough space for a horse, but if they did it tomorrow, then they would be legal non-conforming.
No, but the property the use.
Yes.
The use in the rural gives you the agricultural use.
Mhm.
So the use is there.
Yeah.
And it's there until it's changed for whatever reason. And if we change the zoning down the road
Yeah.
on
There's
the
potential to-
property, they could still bring in farm animals and still be legal non-conforming.
Yes.
And this, to me, the only opportunity to change that would be now, because that would be a condition of your severance, is the whole property becomes one
Residential.
first density, and then the whole property would become that way.
Mhm.
But if it doesn't make a difference, if everybody's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
There is the potential that tomorrow they could have the livestock on that rules and it would be legal non-conforming. So if that is the issue, then I would make a condition that they rezone.
I mean, at some point, what I can say is in the conversation that I've had with the existing property owner is there is no intention to use it as like to hold livestock or what have you. So I'm not super fearful of this landowner trying to pull one over our eyes, and that's not where I'm coming from by any means. I'm just trying to make sure that we're
In the
setting the
future.
right precedent here on how to make sure that we're dealing with this and our hamlet properties appropriately. I'm not sure I'm there yet.
If you want the guarantee, then make the condition that they rezone. Both properties would have to rezone.
I also don't, sorry, your worship, I also don't love the idea of taking rural property and making it residential. Like, you know, I don't want it in the hamlet, but at the end of the day, to make the chunk of what is rural property behind the hamlet into residential, that doesn't seem fair either if somebody's trying to buy a rural piece of property at some point, right?
That's kind of what they've said, what the planner said as well. If it's rural and the people should be allowed to
Yeah.
do what they want with it. But it's what I'm saying is what does the people want in the hamlet? Do they want the animals or then again, I'm gonna say, what does the council want? You're fine with it? And this is the only, as far as I'm concerned, this is the only opportunity to change it before we grant the severance. Then once it's granted, then if somebody you sell that property and somebody down the road buys it and wants to use that portion of the property that is rural, they're legal non-conforming. The rest of the property, if the animals came out in the other property, then it would be an enforcement issue. That's right. But I'll read the bond.
Sorry, can I ask one more clarification
Sure.
question? I'm sorry. So if we're gonna do a housekeeping, we would be looking at every property within the hamlet that touches or also goes beyond, I don't know how many there are. Do we have a sense of how many would spill into from residential to
gonna say
rural
8 to 10.
that are currently all legal non-conforming then?
Well, if they had. You have to look at the map of the hamlet, and I don't have that in front of me. There are several pieces of property where they do have, like, they're cut off by the hamlet designation.
Right.
In the official plan.
You know,
So
there's-
could we say in our zoning bylaw then, if the property hasn't been used as agricultural uses, then it no longer complies?
You can put
But
that in, you can
I
do a
don't know.
zoning housekeeping
So-
bylaw.
Mhm.
Because
So that they would
rural
not
allows
be-
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, if we can address that after tonight and put in
Yes.
something like the mayor just suggested, then I think that actually helps.
Mhm.
And then it also gives an opportunity to, like, whether or not, and to the mayor's point, we can talk about, do we care if somebody has chickens in the hamlet, but not like chickens may be fine, not a rooster, not a cow, not 7 head of cattle, right? Like but do we
Right.
care if somebody has 6 chickens? Probably not, but currently it's restricted, then you can't even have that in the hamlet, but
Correct.
that's for a future conversation, so.
I'm gonna read the.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay. Moved by Councillor McGinnis, second by Councillor Clark, that whereas the Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that consent application B 2024 Kenneth and Julie Rowland for one lot addition from the property legally described as concession 7, south part of lot 11, remainder of parcel 17539, NIP, known as 130 Gagnon Street, to the property legally described as concession 7, part lot 11, parcel 13907, known as 146 Gagnon Street, and be granted. And whereas council deferred the decision to receive advice from the planner on mixed zoning implications, and whereas the planner advised to review the use and zoning of the properties under the official plan review for the hamlet boundaries and for the forthcoming zoning bylaw review, therefore, council hereby grants the consent approval. All in favor? Carried. Okay, next we have, okay, Alex, you're next.
Thank you.
Report from the Public Works Manager, the tender for winter sand.
A request for quotation was issued for the supply of winter sand, RFQ 2024-06, closed at 10 a.m. on August 1st, 2024. The RFQ was opened in public with myself, the CAO, Andre DeVost from Degania Aggregates, and Aaron Koulis from Miller. We were all present at the time. 4 bids were received, and they were as follows. Miron came in at $7.90 per ton. Poulan came in at $12.65 per ton. Degania came in at $18.41 per ton, and Miller came in at $9.75 per ton. All bids were checked for errors and omissions, and following this, Poulan was permitted to withdraw their bid. For the 2024 winter sand budget, we currently had $70,000, which consisted of $26,000 for salt and $44,000 for sand. The request for quotation was for 4,000 tons winter sand, and based on the lowest bid, Miron would be the recommendation on who to go with. The total cost was $35,708, net tax cost being $32,156.22. Salt will be purchased from Windsor Salt and will be arranged for the time of delivery when the sand gets delivered. Delivery and completion deadline of the tender work is Friday, October 4th, 2024.
Sorry. So I'm fine with the recommendation. Did we get any feedback if there was a misunderstanding in some of the applications or in some of the bids that were put in? One is more than double, which is odd that you would see in something that is as close, not a commodity, but as close to a commodity as you can get. It's usually within margins. Like it just seems odd that, was there an understanding? Did you get any sense of that?
No, like I stated before, like they had
Okay.
a company representative that was present there.
Yeah.
There was no questions asked
Okay.
after.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, and the tenders were open in front of.
The only thing I can see is maybe they don't have the infrastructure, so they're renting it, so the
Fair enough.
prices are
Yeah.
gonna be different.
Yeah, that's fair.
Can I ask a question? How come, the one contractor withdrew?
So after we looked through all the tenders, myself and the CAO went over the numbers, and their price per tonnage and their total amount for delivery didn't reflect the same cost. They essentially didn't put in their delivery cost and fuel surcharge into their into their tonnage total. They just submitted it within their final total, which gave us the astronomical difference in numbers from what the tonnage would be. So
Okay.
we gave them the option to pull their bid.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor McGuinness. The council accepts the report from the Public Works Manager and hereby awards RFQ 2024-06 for winter sand to Miriam for a total cost of $35,708. All in favor? Carried. Next.
Thank you. So this one's for the Quarry A gravel. It's RFQ 2024-07. A request for quotation was issued for the supply of Quarry A gravel for belly dump on line 3. RFQ 2024-07 closed at 10:15 a.m. on August 1st, 2024. The RFQ was opened in public with myself, the CAO, Andre DeVos from Degania, Connor Christensen from Pioneer, and Aaron Koulis from Miller were all present at the time. We received 5 bids, and they were as follows. Miron belly dump per ton was $21.95. Hughes came in at $22.95 per ton. Poulan came in at $15.15 per ton. Degania came in at $20.75 per ton, and Miller came in at $22 per ton. After all bids were checked for errors and omissions, following this, we again permitted Poulan for the same reason as the sand tender to withdraw their bid. The total road rehabilitation program budget for belly dump and application as well as stockpile was $240,000. Available to date is $236,284.54. Our stockpile budget is $150,000, allowing $90,000 for the line 3 rehabilitation. So for 3,200 tons belly dumped on line 3, the total cost is $75,032. Now, with the combined budget for the 2024 of $240,000 to apply the granular A, as well as the stockpile, preparing the tenders based on the quotes for previous projects, it was expected only a 3-inch lift would be possible on line 3. However, the tenders were very competitive and resulted in lower than expected unit cost, leaving an additional $73,816.54 available in the budget. It is my recommendation that the remaining funds, the lift on line 3 would be increased to a 4-inch lift rather than a 3-inch, resulting in an additional 685 tons of material. The cost net tax would be $14,463.93. This would allow for a total of 3,885 tons belly dumped on line 3 at a total cost net tax of $82,012.70. From the report on the stockpile combined with this request, it's noted that the budget would allow for additional gravel as well. Removing the requested funds for additional gravel on line 3 leaves $67,770 available. Maple Road received a condition index rating of 38 in our previous road needs study, and Public Works crew have also started ditching on that road this year with our new equipment. The road would benefit from granular being spot applied on hills, and it is recommended that the remainder of the budget be negotiated with the accepted bidder to permit the improvements upon Maple Road. So my final recommendation would be that the RFQ for quarried A gravel for the propose of applying a 4-inch lift to line 3 be awarded to Degania Aggregates for a total net cost of $82,012.70. And furthermore, that myself, the Public Works Manager, be authorized to negotiate with Degania Aggregates for spot granular application on Maple Road.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor Clark, that council accepts the report from Public Works Manager, hereby awards RFQ 2024-07 for the supply and spreading of quarried A gravel for the purposes of applying a 4-inch lift to line 3 to Degania Aggregates for the total net cost of $82,012.70. And further, that the Public Works Manager be authorized to negotiate with Degania Aggregates for the spot granular application on Maple Road. All in favor? Carried. Good
news.
One more, Alan.
Thank you. So our last tender was for stockpile A gravel. It was RFQ 2024-08. The request for quotation was issued with the supply of 5,000 tons of A gravel for the purpose of stockpile. The stockpile is used to repair roads after weather events and when replacing culverts. RFQ 2024-08 closed at 10:15 a.m. on August 1st, 2024. And the RFQ was open in public with myself, the CAO, Andre DeVos from Degania, Connor Christensen from Pioneer, and Aaron Koulis from Miller, all present. We received 7 bids for this quote. First bid was Miron, coming in at $17 per ton. Second was Hughes, coming in at $20.95 per ton. Third was Poulin, coming in at $15.15 per ton. Canor came in at $20.50 per ton. Degania came in at $20.75 per ton. Miller came in at $17.75 per ton, and Pioneer came in at $20.48. Once again, all bids were checked for errors and omissions, and following this, Poulin withdrew their submission. 2024 roads rehabilitation budget for stockpile is $150,000, and like stated, the line 3 rehabilitation at $90,000 for a total of $240,000. The lowest qualifying bid is Miron at $17 per ton for 5,000 tons stockpiled. It's at a total cost of $96,050. So my recommendation is that council award the RFQ for stockpile granular A to Miron for a total cost net tax of $86,500.
Thank you, Alex. Any question?
I just have one. Do we ask for what pit source the A gravel was coming from?
Yes, almost every company that submitted their application for the RFQ did submit a separate sheet on where their material was coming from and what it consisted of.
And that we're getting quarry A gravel at that price from Miron?
For the stockpile?
Yeah.
No, it's not quarry.
Just granular.
It's just granular A for the stockpile. For our road rehabilitation,
Yeah,
it's quarry though.
Okay.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Corbett, that council accepts the report from Public Works Manager and hereby awards RFQ 2024-08 for stockpile granular A to Mirion for a total cost $86,500. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have a report from the CAO clerk treasurer with respect to the medical center governance.
Okay, so in 2023, the province announced that Bonfield was allocated one additional position. And that position was, the position was filled by Dr. Beige in May of 2024. So the medical center operates from provincial funding, subsidies, and the municipal tax levy. So the province pays the physicians directly, and the township is provided 44% of that cost to operate the medical center. Operations generally require between 15 and 40,000 of the tax levy, depending on the special projects that are occurring within the year. The 44% does cover all of the costs, so that's staff, medical supplies, equipment, administration requirements like the electronic medical record system and building costs. So some of those costs that Anna from the Boston Family Health Team were talking about is in that 44%. The township manages the operation of the center through the budget and acceptable tax levy requirements for the service. There are now 2 doctors at the medical center. Dr. Main is a lead physician with the Rural and Northern Physician Group Agreement, having signed with the center first, and then Dr. Beige is the group physician in the same entity. There traditionally has been 1 office administrator assistant for the center as well. And then in recent years, an additional staff member was hired part-time to transfer the paper files to the electronic medical files, and that project is ongoing. With the additional position came the possibility of additional staff. So in the past, there have been different titles for the front office staff, and their hiring practices vary between solely being hired by the doctor to being a joint effort between the doctor and the CAO of the township. The RNPGA, like the agreement, is signed by the township, the province, and each doctor. And I've asked for clarification from the minister on who the primary agreement holder is, and the province replied it is the medical center. So the medical center is owned by the township of Bonfield. And again, this just speaks back to, this is part of what's come out from the expansion with the Boston Area Family Health Team as well, is who is the entity who signs for the medical center, and there are no formal agreements in place at this time. So, and therefore the township, well, the medical center is the employer of all of the employees, but there's no agreement. But we do manage the accounting and the payroll and operations on behalf of them. I think so I've contacted other municipalities that have similar agreements with the province to learn of their arrangements and how they work and operate. So one leaves the entire operations to the physicians, one municipality manages, and other examples include a board or committee to manage the medical clinics that they have the same RNPGA agreement with. And the province has no preference on how the medical clinic is managed. So my recommendation is to create a council committee referred to as the Bonfield Medical Center. And the committee would have terms of references allowing such things as preparing the annual budget for council consideration, prepare and review the formal operations and management agreement between the medical center and the township. We really do need something concrete in writing to say who does what and how it all operates. Enter into agreement supporting the administration of the medical center on behalf of the township. So signing authority could be the chair and the executive director. Manage support staff for the physicians, reception staff, administrative assistants, and physician patient support. Review and recommend service improvements or additional service offerings. Recommend building improvements or requirements. Manage complaints and address public concerns. Create policies and procedures for the medical center for standard operating procedures, employment practices, etc. Members of the committee could be one member of council, the CAO, or the township acting as the executive director for the medical center. 2 positions, and then a member of the public would be optional. Some committees do have a member of the public and some do not have a member of the public, so that's up for council. So if you accept this recommendation, I would suggest that the committee be established for September of 2024, and the first meeting should be to review the terms and conditions, or the terms of references, sorry. And then once that is formalized, then we can get into the agreement on managing the center between the committee and the township. So there can be that formal agreement on everyone's books. Other options are to review other structures and formalize only the agreement between the township and the medical center operations, detailing roles and responsibilities, and this would be between the lead physician and council. Another option is to formalize the township, that the township deems the medical center authority as the lead physician of the RNPG agreement, and that they would assume care and control of all management and operations. I did have conversations with the physicians, when we were first onboarding both of them, because they're both new. And of course because they're both new and I'm new, then it was, okay, how does this work and who does what? So who is the employer? Who is responsible for this agreement? And all the signing authorities have traditionally been the township. So they are willing to take on more if that's council's desire, or we can just create the committee that committee can manage it.
Okay, any questions?
I would just say, I actually agree with the recommended, well, I don't even know, yeah, it's in the recommendation, the recommended structure of the member of council, the CAO, 2 positions, and I actually think a member of public would be beneficial on that. That's my opinion.
I concur with.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree that there should be a committee. And again, if there's a public member of the public there, I think that's probably a good idea. I would like to see possibly something like you see at the hospitals, a part of that committee be quality assurance, where people can make their concerns heard before a committee. I've received a lot of calls over the last few weeks, and I do believe every council has, although no one has said anything to me. But I know that there has been complaints about various things at the medical center. That's one of the biggest services we have in our community, and I believe that there should be a committee set up. So next we go corporate, motion for the corporate services.
There should be a motion to accept the report.
Did I not do that? Let's skip it. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor McGinnis, that council receives the course. Oh, where's my corporate services? No, yeah. No, that's
I think we
fine.
gotta do this one.
Oh,
Planning committee,
I
council,
get that.
involved with medical, we gotta do that one first, I think.
Moved by Counselor Clark, second by Counselor Corbett, that council accepts the report from the CAO clerk treasurer, and that council hereby establishes standing committee of council for the Bonneville Medical Center effective for September 2024. All in favor? Carried. Carried. Next we have, moved by Counselor Clark, seconded by Counselor Corbett, that council accepts the minutes of the corporate services meeting of July 30, 2024, and further that the bylaw be amended accordingly and sent to legal for. Oh, okay, and be sent to legal for final opinion. All in favor? Carried. So we have items for council discussion, and that's a budget to actual report dated July 31st, 2024. No motions, just for review. Is there something you wanted to review, CAO Coco? Or any questions from council?
I just printed off where we are. This report does say in the year 2024 on what we've spent. It also gives the month because I printed off as the August 1st. So I tried my very best to get as much for July in as we could, but there are still some outstanding for July. And then there's the balance within the account versus what's in the budget. So the unallocated amounts, you can see the 5% how close we are into the budget. So it looks like we're doing okay. Some accounts are over budget, but they're being managed by the department heads so that the overall department does not become over budget, but there's very few accounts that are actually over budget. This is just a report to keep it accountable to council, that we are managing the budget well, and that we're in line with our spending as we project.
That's good.
And just to confirm,
Question?
this will be
Yeah.
public with the agenda. when
Absolutely,
it's
it's in the agenda.
Put on
Yes.
tomorrow for
Yes.
whatever happened, yeah.
Yeah.
Next we have 9A. This is a bylaw for 2024-50 for zoning amendment said C3 2024. Moved by Councillor McGinnis, second by Councillor Corbett, that the council for the township of Bonneville hereby considers bylaw 2024-50 to rezone property known as 524 from special zone 34 to commercial resort zone C3, and that council hereby considers bylaw 2024-50 read a first, second, and third time and considered adopted in open session this 6th day of August 2024. All in
Just,
favor?
yeah, should we, sorry, I think that we need an amendment. It just says known as 524. It doesn't say Trunk Road in the. Should be
Oh,
524
yes.
Trunk Road,
Trump Road.
yeah.
Good catch.
Good catch.
Every 524 that we have in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the correspondence. I'll go, the Ontario Long Service Medals. Do we want to support that? The next one, it's AMO Knowledge Exchange on Community and Supportive Housing. That's a course, right? A training?
It's a 2-day,
Symposium.
yes, thank you.
I will.
You
You
do
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Mhm.
support it? Township of Lake of Bays regarding AP for building code infractions. Do we want to support that?
I think it's for, streamlining the, process, to go, it's using a system that is already in place. I think the point is that it's just not been read into motion, I think that's,
I'll support it.
yeah. It's
Okay.
just freeing up the building inspection officer. That's really what it does.
I thought it was to do with provincial infractions and for us to collect that on our taxes,
Not
but
on
is
your-
that building infractions only?
So it's not on our taxes, but there's a new enforcement mechanism called the Administrative Monetary Penalty System. And we hope to implement that for a few of our other bylaws. And if you implement that in lieu of the Provincial Offences Act, the courts are very busy, so the province is encouraging more municipalities. It's been around for a long time, but it's just becoming used by municipalities. So you adopt the administrative penalty program and monetary penalty program, I have to say that right. But you adopt that, and then how that works is there would be within the municipality a screening officer, so your bylaw would just go and put a notice, a penalty notice out, and it would say that you are found to be in contravention of this bylaw, here's the penalty. Instead of going to the court, filing the Part 3, and then going through the whole process where someone has to take a day off of work to go to the court, get it remanded. This way it can just be dealt with within the municipality. So there's screening officers, there's hearing officers, so it's still very judicial, quasi-judicial, but
I think we're asking for royal assent is really what this is. We're already using it. It's almost a formality is what
Right.
we're
we're using it for a number of different bylaws. And the building code allows for you to use it, but we do not have the legislation in place that actually allows us to implement it on the building building code infractions.
So normally, when there was a building infraction, who collected that?
POA,
Pardon?
POA. So it goes to the province, it goes to the courts.
All right. You want to support that? You guys said
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
And the next one, the Northern Businesses for Support on Ontario Immigration Nominee Program. Supported?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So everything is supported, Nikki, in the correspondence?
Okay. May I clarify, Jake, is Councillor Corbett going to attend the symposium?
With the permission of council, yes, I would like to, for sure.
What's that?
The housing symposium. Which letter was it? Knowledge exchange,
It's
B
B,
under
yeah.
correspondence.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so just motion next council meeting.
Next, we have a closed session. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Corbett, that the meeting of council hereby proceeds to closed session in accordance with section 239.2B of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended at
8:11, is there any questions from question period?
No.
I was just gonna ask if we could just address question period, but we did not receive any questions.
there's no question.
There's no questions.
I figured when I didn't see it, there wasn't. So. All in favor? Carry. Carry. Okay, good night.
Hey, guys.
Night.
I scribbled all over mine, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Have a great night.
Good night.
good night. Now, what happens with that?
Do we end the live on that?
Yeah. Did you say bye?
Bye.
Bye, Steve.
No, Steve stay.
No,
Still
Steve.
here.
Oh.
We've now moved into closed session.
I think we just have to turn off the live as well. We're not recording, but we might also be live.
We're still live.
Yeah.
So how do I get to YouTube?
I gotta put my IT hat on.
It would be nice,
Oh, dear.
actually. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
dear.
Please
Do
do.
we know how to get to YouTube?
It's one of those tabs
Uh,
with the
Can you
Might have to-
downsize Zoom?
Might have to disconnect me and then send me a different link.
You could be right, Steve.
Go to more on the bottom end? No.
Or home. That's home. That's, you're still in Zoom ultimately.
I
You
think
somehow downsize that.
Steve's got the best solution.
There you go, room controller.
I still can't get it.
I'm also willing to just phone in too.
Okay, I like that.
Call you?